Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I just made some fries hot from the oven and I really want to eat them, but I also really want to film this video. Look at them. So good. Anyway, I'll sacrifice this hot plate of fries for you guys and talk about some books today because I'm so excited for this video. I've been wanting to do this type of video for a really long time, but I felt like I hadn't read enough books to make it. I don't know, I've seen so many booktubers make this kind of video and I'm always so jealous. But I think I'm finally at the point where I've read enough books where like when I'm reading one, it reminds me of another one that I've already read. So that's what today's video is gonna be. It's gonna be one of those like, if you liked this book, you might like this book type of video. And I'm trying to do ones that no one's made a comparison of yet because there were definitely some where I was like, dang it, I've already seen what, so like someone make that comparison. So I'm trying to make them unique. It was way harder than I thought. I definitely had like 3 or 4 in my mind already and I was like, that's not enough for a video. So I have 8. Some of them may be a stretch, but just roll with the punches with me, okay? The first one that came to mind for this video, it's like a really obvious one because you'll see. But if you liked Things in Jars by Jess Kidd, I think you would really like The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner. Yes, they both deal with jars and apothecaries and things. They both deal with London. They both deal with like old-timey London. Both give me the same atmosphere. I'm trying to like pick books that just give me the same vibes, you know, and these two definitely do. Things in Jars, we're dealing with like London in the 1800s. Yeah, we are, and we're following a detective. There's jars, it's gloomy London. I'm the worst. And then in this one I just read, we follow kind of like a 2 timeline kind of story where it's modern day, but then we also go back in time and we see this lady who runs an apothecary and she's really secretive and gives these potions to people, to women, to kind of kill their husbands or something. And so that is in the 18th century London as well. So they just remind me so much of each other. I was like, when I was reading this, I was like, I know I've read something very similar. So very much give me the same vibes. If you like one, you'll probably like the other. Probably like The Lost Apothecary a little bit more because I liked the modern day brought into it and how it kind of connected with the other story that we were reading about. It also has like a mysterious element as well. So I think it's a pretty good comparison if you ask me. I'm gonna steal another fry. Except a piece of pepper got stuck in my throat, so I need to calm down. Next one, I only have one of the books. The other one my sister is borrowing, but if you liked Memoirs of a Geisha, can't remember who wrote it, Arthur or something, then I think you would really like The Heart's Invisible Furies by John Boyne. This is one of my favorite books of all time, so is Memoirs of a Geisha. They sound like they would be very different. Memoirs of a Geisha obviously follows a Japanese woman beginning in early 1900s, and it follows her entire life, like childhood to becoming a geisha and the war, her life after coming to the United States. Like it literally goes into modern day. And that's kind of what this novel does as well. We follow our main character who is a man, Cyril. We follow literally his like parents' story and then go into his birth and his entire life, and this takes place in Ireland. So like different parts of the world, but they very much give me the same vibe. They're just like this long saga of one person's life, and you see it like all the people that go in and out of their lives and all of the events that happen that kind of make them who they are. I love both of them so much. I think they're both so well done, how these authors can write books that span an entire lifetime, just mind-boggling. So there you go. I really wish I had Memoirs of a Geisha, but it's fine. Next, if you liked The Astonishing Color of After by Emily X. Arpan, I think that you would really like Dear Edward by Anne Napolitano. Comparison between these, they both deal with loss. So in The Astonishing Color of After, we follow a high school student and she loses her mother to suicide. So definitely some trigger warnings there for both of these novels, but she loses her mother and so she travels back to Taiwan, which is where her mother is from, to try and find some answers and to kind of try and know more about her mom and kind of how to grapple with this loss because it's obviously a massive kind of loss. And then in Dear Edward, we follow a young boy who loses his entire family in a plane crash, and so he is totally lost after that. Like, how do you come back from that? And so we see him try and navigate those losses, because again, obviously that's huge, and so they just really remind me of each other. They're both horrendously sad, and definitely get some tissues ready if you choose to read these, but they also end in a very like hopeful, dare I say, happy note, and they both have birds. I just love each of these books. They're such beautiful stories, and I highly recommend both of them. But yeah, definitely the same vibe here. On a different note, we're gonna go the romance route. If you liked Act Your Age, Eve Brown by Talia Hibbert, I think that you would really like People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. So these are both very new books. Emily Henry's is not even out yet. I don't think I just made a video on this book, but both are romances, and both are kind of the same kind of romance. So in Eve Brown, we follow Eve Brown, who is sunshine and rainbows. She's amazing. She's very positive, adventurous, outgoing, and then she meets Jacob, who is kind of the opposite, kind of cranky and crabby, and is not the most outgoing or down for adventure, and so they start out kind of as enemies and then go to lovers, and that's kind of the exact same thing that happens in People We Meet on Vacation. We follow Poppy and Alex. Poppy is very sunshine and rainbows kind of gal, and Alex is a little bit grumpy and a little bit, you know, hard to navigate. And in this one, they do go from friends to enemies to lovers, but there's always just this kind of tension between both of these couples, and they both very much remind me of each other. So they're also so freaking cute. This one is the first and only romance that I've cried while reading it, so if that tells you anything. But they're both so good. I gave them both 5 stars, and I'd highly recommend both of them. Okay, for this next one, this may be a bit of a stretch. I mainly wanted to do this one to bring up a book that no one talks about, that I think needs to be talked about. So if you liked The Adventures of Tom Sawyer or Huckleberry Finn, A Good Adventure Story, I think you would really like this Tenderland by William Kent Kruger. So we all kind of know the story of like Tom Sawyer, you know, it's like a coming of age boy on a great sweeping adventure with his friends, and that's totally what we get in this Tenderland as well. This takes place in the 1930s, and we follow 2 brothers who are orphans, and they kind of travel down the Mississippi River, make some friends along the way, get into some shenanigans. Obviously this story is a lot more like, there's a lot more going on in this one than like these short little Mark Twain books, but they both are just fun. Like, it's one of my favorite things to read about is like a good adventure story, and I don't know, both of these main characters kind of remind me of each other, and they're just, more than anything, they're just like fun books. So this one is also kind of really sad though, so don't take my word for it, but yeah. I don't know if this one is the greatest comparison, but I'm gonna say it anyway. This next one is a chunker. Okay, this one I could not decide. I kept going back and forth, and I was like, you know what, just talk about all 3 of them. So these are also all 3 massive books. I'm gonna go in order of when I read them. So first one I read was The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. So if you liked The Great Alone, I think you would really like Beartown by Frederick Backman. It may be a stretch, I don't know, but they both give me the same vibes. And along with that, if you liked Beartown, I think you would really like What Comes After by Joanna Tompkins, which is like a really new release. So bear with me. Great Alone, we follow our main character who moves to Alaska. She has a lot of family issues, but the wilderness and the setting and the atmosphere plays such a huge role in this novel. And it's a sad novel, and it just deals with like really like real life issues. Also very much like trigger warning for all 3 of these novels. And so I don't know, just the vibes I get from this book really remind me of Beartown. This takes place in like a small Canadian small Canadian town. Landscape, atmosphere, very prevalent. Something really bad happens, and it's really sad. Along with that, we have What Comes After. This takes place in the Pacific Northwest. They're all very isolating stories, I feel. Maybe that's why they remind me of each other. All the landscapes just make all the characters very isolated. This deals with a murder of a high school boy and then a suicide, and they're all just sad books. Like, get ready to cry for all 3 of them, but I do love all 3 of them. I gave them all either like a 4 or 5 stars. They're all very heavy stories and just very character driven stories as well. I love them all. So if you liked one, then you'll probably like the other two as well. Now that I'm rolling, I'm like, maybe I could find more. But I might, if you like this video, I might make another one. I'm just gonna keep going, man. This one, if you liked Love and Gelato by Jenna Evans Welch, I think you would really like The Star-Crossed Sisters of Tuskegee by Lori Nelson Spielman. I've talked about both of these books a lot on my channel, so I'm not gonna get too into it. Obviously, they both deal with Italy, they're both romances, and they both are kind of a mystery as well. So Love and Gelato, we follow our main character who moves to Italy to live with her dad, and then kind of a family secret comes up, and it takes them on like a wild goose chase through Italy, and we see so much of the landscape and architecture and just everything about Italy that, you know, we all love. Kind of the same with this. We follow some members of an Italian family who go to Italy and kind of try and figure out a mystery, and it kind of takes them all over the country. And so I think if you like one, you'll really like the other. Like I've said, I'm really obsessed with Italy right now, and I really want to go visit, but I can't, so may as well, you know, read all the books about it. And they're both really cute romances, put a smile on your face, they're good to kind of escape, and I think they're both just really, really, really good books. And then the last one I have for you is if you liked Pachinko by Minjin Lee, I think that you would really like Homegoing by Yagiasi. These books look really beautiful together also. So these are so similar. Pachinko, we follow generations of a Korean family who goes from Korea to Japan, still fighting to kind of keep their identity as Koreans. And we follow, you know, from hundreds of years ago up until present day. And in Homegoing, we follow two half-sisters. We start in like the 1750s, and we follow one half-sister whose family stays in Ghana, and the other family and her descendants go to America. So we follow hundreds of years, we follow 8 generations in Homegoing. They do have a lot of differences, but they're both very historical, very informative. I learned so much about Korea and Japan, and I learned so much about Ghana and, you know, the history of slavery in the United States. They're both hard to read. They both have historical like facts in them and like things that actually happened, and so that makes it even harder to read for me. But I think they're both really important works of historical fiction, and I think they're both really actually incredible books. Again, Pachinko's like really long. It's incredible what Homegoing was able to accomplish in like 300 pages. It's insane. This is my last comparison. Kind of with Homegoing, I was gonna compare it to The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett, but I decided not to because it kind of reminded me more of Pachinko. But it's the same with The Vanishing Half, where like you're following two sisters, and each of them and their descendants live like very different lives, and kind of comparing and contrasting those dynamics very much is the same thing with Homegoing. But anyways, that's the one I decided to choose. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you've like read these books and if you agree or you disagree with what I chose to compare them to, and I hope I gave you some ideas. I don't know, that's, you know, I'm trying to be helpful here, but let me know what you guys thought and if I should make another one of these. It was really fun coming up with like what book reminded me of what other book. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys.